I just always had an old soul and wisdom. I always been around, my grandparents, my parents, my uncles. I was kind of like the youngest out of the crew at all times. That's where the name Phew kind of came from, like short for nephew. Yeah, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from Lithonia, Georgia. That's like the east side of Atlanta. But yeah, so pretty much, yeah. Atlanta, Georgia. I'm really putting on for the whole city. I feel like I got a responsibility, especially of being, a gospel artist, a gospel rapper. Because I feel like, especially in my city, I feel like I just want to be a light. That was definitely the big turnaround moment of my life when I actually got shot at, and I'll never forget it. It was so obvious that God spared my life, and then it was obvious that if I kept going, it was gonna lead nothing but death or prison. You feel what I'm saying? So that situation really woke me up. And really, and from that day, I put the relationship over the religion. You know what I'm saying? Me down to sleep, I pray to Lord my soul again. Got a whole lot that's proud of me. I pray that you watch over me, even though I've been sinning. I'ma just lean on God, no more sipping. I'ma go get baptized like my wrist did. I'm so glad you saved me. I'm so glad you saved me. You saved me. You saved me. I'm so glad you saved me. You saved me. You saved me.
Just because I don't believe or agree doesn't mean I can't learn from you.
Why did you have to bring that up?
Okay, that one I'm super embarrassed about.
Do you like me?
Do I like you?
Yeah.
As an individual or as a podcast?
Just as a person.
No, I like you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I don't have any interest in appearing to be stronger than I am.
I ain't bow to Nebuchadnezzar's statue. He gonna lead. You feel me?
How do we love people who see the world differently than we do?
What would it look like if we truly loved all of our neighbors? Could listening to their stories be the first step? This is Seacoast Church, and there's way more to talk about.
I would freak out if I could be in an interview.
All right, so for our listeners, welcome. Good to see everybody. All right. You're interrupting us, dadgummit, on a conversation. No, but I was just sharing with Lynn. I've been looking for people on this podcast to talk about the Chosen series, and I've just been looking for the right combination because do you know about my TV rule? I don't. So Waylon is in the 7th grade, so that means, and he's my youngest, so he has 6 more years, and I just have it in my head, and I have for the last 5 or 6 years outside of major exceptions. So Cobra Kai is one of them. The family watches that together, and then I'm about to give you 2 exceptions. I was going through kind of a sad time in the last, I guess, 6 months, and I stumbled on the whole Chosen TV series. So it wasn't what's the season they just released?
4.
So it was the first. It was the first 3 seasons, and they had the whole season for $30. And I'm telling you, after the first episode, it just got me, and I feel like I was ministered to for 3 seasons of TV. But I'm going to practice discipline because I want to devote almost a whole show to that because I've got so much to talk about. And Lynn, I can tell you want to talk about it also.
Yeah, I do. But I'm so disappointed. This is not the episode.
I'll come back with that one.
Yeah. So make sure you are here for that one.
I will.
I read you. Well, another exception that I've made, and it's kind of a confession to. Do you listen to a lot of these episodes? Do you listen to all of them? Are you kind of keep
almost
up?
caught up? I think I've got.
So you've heard the Mary Tyler Moore talk?
Yeah.
So
wait, time out. Are you telling us the truth, Luke?
Yeah.
we have this ongoing discussion.
I believe you. You don't have to do that. I'm sorry for Lynn's question, Luke. I'm sorry for her question.
A joke.
So
no, I actually do.
So I'm busy with Seacoast. I've got tons of other things going on professionally. I've got a family of 4, so trying to make extra money, and then the free time that I have, you've got some hobby stuff, but my kids, I want to spend time with my kids. And so it's just how my doggone brain works. I do not want to commit to series of television shows. So I am keeping a list of television shows that I'm going to watch in 6 years because all the kids will be out of the house. And that'll be a huge margin of time that I now have to watch TV. Yes.
So they all
I don't know
have,
about binge watching because I still want to do the stuff that I'm doing now, but it's like the time that I would be very intentional with like just being with them and in the same room while they're studying and having the news on and hanging out with them and stuff. Like it's like that time that I would be spending with them, just watch some TV. It's more about what I'm trying to do now than it is later. It's like right now I just don't want TV series to be a distraction for me. And that's not a shot to anybody else. It's just kind of how I am. But Chosen was an exception. And Mary Tyler Moore, the reason why it's so easy to watch is I usually will watch it in the evening when I'm starting to slow down. I'm not into a lot of the newer TV shows, but I do want to talk about something, and it's called the Cheers paradigm, and it is why people look so much older back then when they were in their 30s and 40s than they do now. But real quick, just a couple of notes that I wanted to share with you guys about some of the Mary Tyler Moore episodes I've been watching is one of the main actors, her name is Rhoda Morgenstern, so it's Valerie Harper is the actress. One of the star roles, they keep referring to her as overweight and fat. And y'all, I'm telling you, she's not at all. And I'm telling you, watching this series has been the biggest cultural lesson because I'm like, why do they keep saying she's fat? Like, I would say, and nowadays you would maybe call her fit. And then you would call Mary Tyler Moore maybe too thin or something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just like so crazy. Another one that I thought
affirms my not watching any episodes besides the one you asked me to.
Another one was Mary was her character was supposed to be extremely sick, and how they had her look, I had to like readjust my brain because it looked stylish. Of what nowadays women just walk out of the house with their hair, messed up, but they still look kind of nice. They pull it off, sort of thing. And I'm like, she doesn't look sick. It is crazy. The number of plots or integral part of storylines that are based on the technology deficiencies. Like, where is so and so? Nobody can reach him, and it's like nowadays we don't have those storylines because of cell phones and all that kind of stuff. But anyway. Let me show you guys all right, I want you to, so I'm telling you guys that I just turned 47, August the 15th. Do you think that I am older than any of those men in that picture?
I can't answer because I saw the numbers on the back when you handed him the sheet.
Okay.
No.
Well, go by what you would have thought. Look at those men. Do you think I'm older than any of them?
No.
Top middle. All right, that's Ed Asner. He's the voice of the old guy in Up. He's Santa Claus on Elf with Will Ferrell. 41 years
He's 41
old.
in this picture.
41. We will show these pictures on YouTube. He looks
Let me see again.
60s. He's 41. He is
photo, he's 41?
7 years younger than me. The guy in the bottom right, 39. I'm sorry, bottom left. Bottom right.
Either way.
Listen, the bottom right, he's my age. That's my age. And now I want to know what you think Rhoda, top left, and then Mary Tyler Moore, bottom middle. How old do you think they are?
I can't guess because I saw her number on the back when you passed.
Yeah.
But top right, I would say like 50s.
She's 44. How old do you think top left and bottom middle are?
Man, this is like a question that's going to get you in trouble.
Oh, they're dead. They don't care.
No, people in general are offended about stuff like this. Let's say 40 and 30.
So which one was, did you say 30?
Top left, 40.
All right, so she's 31, and then the bottom is 34. So, all right, so I did a little bit of research.
That's
and
wild.
y'all,
It's wild.
let me, this is, what is that 80s movie? All the Parents movie with, what's that guy's name? Steve Martin.
Yeah.
It's The Parent Trap.
Father of the Bride.
Father of the Bride. How old do you think this couple is? How old do you think they are?
And that,
how old are they supposed to be?
Late 50s, early 60s.
45. This one blew my...
How?
It's mind-boggling. This one blew me away. How old do you think that guy is?
He's 50s.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying they're actually a certain age, but they're supposed to be portraying an older age?
It's pretty
or
much
vice
the
versa?
same. They're portraying 45-year-olds, and they were at the time.
Okay.
They
Wow.
did that- exactly. YouTube people, you can see it too because we're showing
I
these.
think 50s.
All right, this guy's in his 50s. Your mind is going to be blown. So that's like in the 1920s. How old is that guy supposed to be?
Man, that looks like a lot of plastic surgery and hair products. So I'm going to say he's actually 55.
29 years old. That dude is 29. 29. Look at Red Fox.
Wait, what?
That guy's 29
It's the
years
opposite
old.
of what I thought.
Yeah. Red Fox. Do you see, Sanford and
Yeah,
Son?
yeah,
He's 48 in that picture.
No.
This is insane, y'all. So it's
No.
called the Cheers Paradigm. And Red Fox. When I was watching Sanford and Son, I thought that dude was elderly.
Because he's like grandpa age when
I know, and he
I'm thinking
hobbles.
like grandpa, great
Yes.
grandpa.
All right, so check this
Where
out.
are you getting this?
It is
On the internet, Luke.
Oh,
He's
on the
getting it
internet. Oh, and it's a website
How
called
much are you
Dazed
editing these
Digital.
photos?
Hey, that's the funny part is when I was doing all this and I said, what website is this? It's Dazed Digital. But you can't argue against ages. I showed y'all pictures. There's years to match those. So it's called the Cheers Paradigm. It's diet, skincare, aesthetic procedures that we have taken on. But here is the big one, and it's what I thought: smoking.
Oh, yeah.
Check these stats out.
It
In the
ages you.
1940s,
Makes
half
sense.
of all adults
Half.
smoked. In
Half.
the 1940s, half. So Mary Tyler Moore started in 1970. So I would imagine, we're still hovering maybe a little bit less than half. Tell me, I'm curious what y'all think. In the 80s, how many adults smoked in America? What do y'all think?
I mean, you saw it everywhere.
I would say a higher percentage, probably
I would say
60%.
I would go lower, but I would say like 45, 40%.
Yeah, it's 35.
Oh, wow.
And then in 2018, it hit an all-time low of 13.7%. But they are saying that it is a real thing, and the same reaction that we all three had, everybody has. Another big factor is our brain is basically taking the information of old styles, old hairdos, old clothing, and signifying to the rest of our brain, hey, this is a certain age. Mm-hmm. So it's like we see it and our brain can't separate style from actual age. It's like, just look at them. They're so old. But I think smoking's a big one.
Wow.
And so, Lynn, I'm so glad that you're on here today.
That's a really smooth segue.
I knew this was coming. I'm glad I'm here too, Joey.
Yeah. How's your day been?
It's been smoke free.
Smoke free for about 11 years now, right?
It's been how many years? It's been a good bit. Yeah.
It's good that you don't remember.
Have you ever smoked a cigarette?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Were you ever a regular smoker?
So yes, I did it to prove a point.
What if he was like, smoke now? You smoked to prove a point?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you're gonna divulge, right? Tell us more.
Yeah. College, had a friend who just kind of, we were talking about, I think, willpower, and he's like, with smoking and stuff like that, you can't. And I was like, well, I'll prove it to you. I can. If I do it, will you quit when I quit? It's for 6 months. I think that's a long enough time to say it would have developed some kind of addiction. I said, okay, you pick the date and then we'll stop. And then I did.
Are you serious?
And I wouldn't say that it was like, no, it's just easy to just drop it and let go. But it was possible.
Wow. And so this was after 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
How many cigarettes did you smoke a day?
That's the question. So he was probably
you're telling the story in front of the wrong person, because if this is kind of like a whatever story, Lynn's going to say, oh, you smoked 2 cigarettes a day.
No. It was a pack.
Okay.
Yeah. Pack a day.
Yeah. Wow.
That's up to par, smoker?
Yeah, I would say at
Smoker
least
Lynn?
half a pack to a pack a day is like,
right.
one here or there, but
good job, Luke.
Occasionally, I wouldn't finish the entire cigarette.
Right.
throw it out, but because I would feel like I want to throw up if I
But 10
if I
to
keep
20
going.
cigarettes a day, yes, that is
Yeah.
even
And
10 in your waking
by the way,
hours, I would say.
my mom and dad have no idea this ever happened. So if they're watching, whenever they watch this, if they watch it, if they hear this, I'm sorry.
If you're hearing this and you know Luke and his parents, please forward this to Luke's parents.
But Luke's parents, in all honesty, he helped a friend. Did the friend stop with you?
He did for a while and then got back to it. He did for about 5 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked about my grandpa on this podcast before, just his troubled past. But one thing that I will talk very highly about him is the doctor basically told him, so he was born in 1918, so he probably smoked from, 1930 to 1960, and the doctor basically said, you're going to die in 20 years if you don't start or stop. And he used to tell me as a kid, he's just like, I don't understand. What's the trouble with so many people not being able to stop smoke? He said, when the doctor told me that, he said, I threw the cigarettes in the trash can and I kept my DAMN mouth shut. I was like, all right, Grandpa, that was his story.
Wow.
So
Wow.
he was pretty hardcore. How hard was it for you to stop?
So I would say that I tried to stop several times in that period, in that decade that I smoked. And the first couple of times, and I would probably say more than a couple, because when I finally quit, my friends didn't believe me because it was that, Lynn's quitting. This will last for about a month or two. But I remember the day that I my last cigarette before I quit for years, and then I had a relapse, and we know that story. But when I took that morning, I woke up and I had my morning cigarette, and something just in me was like, and I threw the pack away and didn't smoke again. And I was never tempted to buy a pack. I was never tempted. Now, I would smell secondhand smoke and I would have cravings. And I would still at night or after I ate a meal, all the triggers of when I would smoke, I would feel it. But I think when I decided, when I had that last cigarette, I was like, I was done until I relapsed years later. But in that moment when I quit, it was the Lord speaking to me and showing me something. And so in that moment, and I've never wanted to go back from that moment. Wow. So it wasn't, in both of those instances, when I threw that cigarette out, I was done.
Nice. Wow. When you were smoking, you also, because I wrote this, it's funny, I was writing this question down and then I answered it as I wrote it down, and I was like, there's just so much here. I was going to ask, why do y'all think people smoke to this day in 2024? But then it was just why do people eat unhealthy? Why do people have that extra glass of wine to, knock them out? Why do people binge, on TV series every single night and put other things off? It's just that's the question. Why do people smoke nowadays is the human problem. We're looking for something to help us cope, but I have thought with smoking, do you think that it is more reinforcing in the moment? It's like when you overeat, sure, you could have a bad night of indigestion and feel it right away, but it's over time you go to the doctor and you're like, oh my gosh, my arteries, blah, 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 blah. With smoking, it seems like it's you're being reinforced, bad for you as you're doing it, because you're coughing.
You're not.
No, you're not.
You're
yellow
not.
teeth.
I didn't have coughing. And yellow teeth, same with coffee, you just get them stained, you use whitening toothpaste. So
it wasn't
people who
making
don't
you cough.
Yeah, I didn't have a smoker's cough.
Wow.
And I smoked for a decade, a half a pack to a pack a day. And so I would say you're not necessarily having those physical things in the moment. Now, some people do, but anyone who's not brushing their teeth, anybody who doesn't do the regular hygiene things, or they're not eating, I ate healthy. I even worked out. I just also smoked. And so it's like all of those compounded things, the stereotype of what you think of somebody being a smoker they're not always experiencing those things in the moment. But I would say the health issues don't come until later.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you do get sick, it might last a bit longer. But whenever I would get a cold or I would get sick, I just wouldn't smoke for a couple days because it was harder to breathe. But like some of those illnesses don't come immediately.
Yeah. It sounds like someone like Lynn would not do something like this because it is a predisposition to struggle. My words, not hers. But would you have a problem if Lynn could smoke an occasional cigarette once every 2 months just for the heck of it because it's fun and it kind of is relaxing? So literally you and Lynn are talking and she's just like, well, I'll smoke occasionally. And you're like, well, what are you talking about? She's just like, once every couple of months, it's just kind of fun to sit out on the back patio and smoke a cigarette. Like, would you bat an eye towards that once every 2 months? Would that matter to you?
That's a great question. I think
your parents are not probably not listening. Yeah.
If you asked me even 3 or 4 years ago, I'd probably, be a little bit more judgmental about it. I think, like any bad habit, if it is within moderation, or if you have control over whatever the habit is, where it's not controlling you, and it's, what's it called, social. Sure.
So you're talking mainly like substances, like alcohol
and
smoking,
cigarette.
that kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, I'm like, if that is,
keep it in moderation.
If that is, if the criteria is if you have control over it and not it over you.
Right.
The same thing as social drinking. I think with cigarette smoking, to your previous point, I think movies and television have also, made it more glamorous. It's a cool look.
Now?
Always.
Not
just more.
Really?
Yeah.
It's always been a cool thing to look at and be like, to see smoke coming out of somebody's mouth or nostrils in the midst of a dialogue, or even just in a still shot where that's the only thing that's happening. Just cinema has glamorized it to the point where it's desirable. It becomes it becomes a thing that's like, that is just plain cool. The harmful effects of it doesn't matter. That is what we're talking about, but the act of doing it is very cool. I'm not endorsing it, but
right.
It is what it is.
Because see, what surprised me about that is I was going to ask y'all. It's like the amount of smokers decreased very swiftly once science spoke boldly. Hey, this is bad for you. But when I was a kid, it was still cool to do the smoking thing because you sneak away, nobody knows you, and you're doing something adventurous. You've never done it before, but that's not common in today's amongst children. Like, I think that my daughter, what?
I would say that's false because vaping is a high
That's true.
among the youth.
It's just the new way of doing it.
Right.
That's true.
And then you walk around
right.
and you see kids. I was like in Walmart, some kid walked by me vaping.
Yeah,
and
you just
You would
blew
catch
that
kids
up.
at summer camp bringing vapes in. So
so it's and I would even
and I hear, and I'm not educated on the whole vaping thing, but I hear it's just as bad.
Yes,
for
it
you.
is. And I, even with it being cool, I think that is true. But in our generation, it was easier to do it in public. So I grew up, when we all grew up, you could go to the restaurant and there was the smoking section and the non-smoking
Isn't that
section.
crazy?
Which is,
so
yes,
crazy.
you're like, because you go up 2 steps, suddenly
Right.
you don't have
Right.
secondhand smoke. But it was like you could, and even when I graduated from college, I remember throughout college going to bars and I could smoke inside. And then after college, it started to make that shift where you couldn't smoke inside anymore. And so then that, it just made it harder. So as people were learning about the effects of it, cigarette prices going up, in public, it's harder. There were campuses where you can't even, you walk on a hospital campus and there's no smoking on the campus. You walk on certain places and you're not allowed to even smoke outside. So I think a combination of those things have caused all of that happening at the same time, kind of decreasing among the older generation. But the vaping,
that's so true.
Yep.
It would be interesting to hear those demographics. If 13%, I would love to know what demographic ratio is in that 13%.
Yeah. All right. So you're hanging out with your buddies. Y'all are having fun. You're adults, but you're behaving. But your friends say, Lynn, I have a cig. I know you don't want to smoke it. How much would somebody have to pay you to smoke it?
None.
And is it because you don't trust yourself?
It's not because I don't trust myself. It's because I'm on the other side of the spectrum, even with the question that you asked, Luke. I'm like, the Lord just has me in this place where it's like, even if something is permissible, is it beneficial? And I'm at the point where I'm like, our bodies are a temple of the Holy Spirit. Right? And so our body's not our own. And if I know even one cigarette's not good for my body, why am I doing it? And so for me, it's like, is there a price on obedience? Like if the Lord's called me to something else and called me to holiness in this area, and that's why I don't think the addiction is an issue for me now, because I'm like, my motivation isn't smoking's bad, I shouldn't do this is wrong. It's like, this is not what the Lord has for me. So I don't have a price for that.
I hear you. That's awesome. That's
I would agree. My only thing would be is that how does drinking fall in that category?
It falls in the exact same category.
So if you make an allowance for one, it's kind of a slippery slope.
Yeah, but I would say drinking is a tough one, just with how acknowledged it is in the Bible. It seemed like there would be a complete no tolerance, no alcohol, and then Jesus being one of his first miracles. Obviously, we know probably the alcohol content was a little bit different, but the alcohol one is tricky just because the Bible seems to give some good uses of it.
I think it still goes back to what's the Lord calling me to.
To
is
you.
This pleasing?
So you're saying personal?
Yes, I'm saying personally to me, but personal to everyone.
Sure.
Everyone who follows Christ should be asking, this is permissible, but is it beneficial?
That's a great question.
It's not like, because it's okay to have it and I'm not doing it in excess, then there's always a stamp of approval. There are good things that the Lord has said this isn't for you to do. And if I do them, it's disobedient. So I think that's where it falls. Everything falls in that category. It may be permissible, but it may not be beneficial. And that goes for alcohol. And Jesus even said, I'm not going to drink from this fruit of the vine again until I have it with you in the kingdom. And so if we're his disciples and we're doing what he's doing, there could be an argument that we're waiting to have it with him. But that's you just have to sit with yourself on that. But yeah, I think it's what is the Lord calling me to do, and is this beneficial? And if it's not, it doesn't matter whether.
I would agree with that distinction, and actually even take that back to, I don't know how many of our episodes ago when we talked about horror.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would agree on the same principle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it in any way benefiting the body?
Well, Lynn just officially. The data is not there, but she has officially just mandated an alcohol conversation. Whole episode on alcohol. Because do you know the rumors about myself?
I don't know
the rumors.
Are you spreading your own rumors?
No. So
I don't.
So I'll
I don't listen to rumors.
I'll leave you guys a cliffhanger. I don't like to have this title, but a lot of people say it was Joey's doing that the alcohol policy got changed here at Seacoast. And the only thing that happened very coincidentally, and we will leave it here because I think it will be a great conversation. When I became a campus pastor, so Luke, this was 2008, the rules at the time is that I cannot drink. I give it up in the privacy of even my own home. And so my thing was I felt called to be a campus pastor. So I need to understand this because I don't want to choose alcohol over what I feel like God is sending me in the direction of, even if I disagree with whatever policy is in place. But I sat down with Pastor Greg. I said, look, I just want to understand your heart in this. And at the time, he said, pretty much word for word, it was, I'm a little more, I bet you he didn't use the word liberal because he doesn't like the whole liberal conservative use of words, but he says, I'm one of the most liberal of the executive team. I think at the time it was directional leadership team when it comes to alcohol. He said, but right now I just don't want to put my foot down and change something and basically rock the boat, which is a huge leadership learning experience for me because it was like, okay, so he doesn't feel completely at ease with this rule and he could change it at the snap of a finger, and he hasn't.
That's
and he's
powerful.
just sitting there. He's sitting on it. So it was about 6 months later that Pastor Greg talked to the campus pastors, and I'm telling you, it was an interesting conversation, but it was intense too because he pretty much ended it by saying there'll be serious problems if any of you abuse this. But his rationale was, I cannot. And I don't know if he used the words in good conscience, but kind of what he was saying is, I can in good conscience have a rule about something that the Bible doesn't give the same rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was intense. He was just like, do not abuse this. So good job. We'll have an alcohol episode.
All right. We got The Chosen. We got alcohol.
Yeah, Chosen. So which one would you prefer to be in if you had to pick? Alcohol or Chosen?
Oh, man.
A series about Jesus or beer?
Or wine.
He's really thinking. He's like, which one? I can't make any promises, Luke.
I'm going to say beer.
Chosen.
Chosen. Good to have you on here, man. We appreciate your time. Where are you at right now? Are you on tour?
I actually we just finished tour in March, so I had a good little minute to relax and take a little break. Right now, I'm getting ready for my I do an annual birthday party every year called Phew Bash. But this year we're doing a ball type thing. Since I'm turning 30, my birthday was actually yesterday. But since I'm turning 30, thank you. But yeah, we're doing a ball situation this year, and yeah, I'm excited about it. We've been planning it for probably about a couple months now, a little over a couple months. But yeah, I'm excited about it, man. It's this Saturday, May 25th.
Nice.
And, yeah, I'm excited.
Nice. Does 30 feel weird?
I've been trying to avoid looking in the mirror since yesterday, but I think I can get used to it though. I ain't gonna lie, I was joking around with my mom yesterday. She was like, she said I turned 30 8 years ago. That's when I had my first child. My oldest is 8. So we was joking about that yesterday. We was like, yeah, I've been, cause even growing up, like I just always had an old soul and wisdom. I always been around, my grandparents, my parents, my uncles. I was kind of like the youngest out of the crew at all times. That's where the name Phew kind of came from, like short for nephew. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I was always like the youngest and always digested like, the wisdom I was getting.
Yeah.
So I've always felt like mature for my age, but I feel like now it's just time for me to be a little more intentional.
Yeah.
For what God's purpose is on my life. I feel like it's okay to walk in it, but now I feel like now it's time to run in it.
Nice.
That's
nice.
good.
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend at work here, and he said something about how so I'm 46, and when I think about myself in my 20s, I'm like, man, that version of me was just so green and didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And my 60-year-old version is going to think the same thing about 46-year-old Joey.
Yeah.
Like, what was 46-year-old Joey thinking?
Right.
Hey, I thought of an interesting question to ask you right up top. When you do interviews like this and the people talking to you aren't on a personal friendship level, what do we call you? What do we say? 1K? What's up, one? What do we say?
One is crazy. One is crazy. Everybody just call me Phew, man. Like, yeah, you just call me Phew.
Awesome. Well, you know a lot of people who's been on this podcast. We've had Propaganda on here, Lecrae on here, Derek Minor on here. And I can't call Propaganda. I have to call him Jason. I don't know if that's weird or not, but so you are.
For real?
Yeah. So you're from Atlanta, correct?
Yeah, I'm from Atlanta. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from Lithonia, Georgia. That's like the east side of Atlanta. But yeah, so pretty much, yeah. Atlanta, Georgia. I'm really putting on for the whole city. I feel like I got a responsibility, especially of being, a gospel artist, a gospel rapper in the city of Atlanta. I just kind of wanted to really take hold of that and really champion that. Because I feel like, especially in my city, I feel like I just want to be a light to everything that's going on. Like, people getting killed and locked up and just all type of crooked foolishness going on. But I just want to be a light in my city so people can look at the city of Atlanta and be like, oh, wow, like he may not look like the typical, believer or talk like the typical believer, but he's a real believer. You feel what I'm saying? And that's the message I really want to convey to not only my generation, but people younger than me and older than me, and I just want to, and I really want to represent purpose. You know what I'm saying? Because when God gave us our calling, it wasn't the conference call, and it was just for us. You feel what I'm saying? So I really want people to understand that everybody's not always going to understand your calling or your vision or your purpose. You feel what I'm saying? Because it was just for you. So and I feel like that's the mission I want to stand on.
That's cool. Well, let's go back in time a little bit. So you grew up there, I'm assuming, and what kind of family did you grow up in? Like, did you have like a pretty solid family, mom and dad, and pretty steady?
Oh yeah, for sure. So before I was born, my parents, I was fortunate enough to live in middle class because they moved out of hood like right before that I was born. You feel what I'm saying? So I got the privilege to live middle class, 2-parent household. But it was kind of weird because I was like the only one with that situation out of all my friends. So I don't know. I wouldn't even say I was hanging with the wrong crowd because it's like we kind of moved in the area where that was going on. It was like the area of Lithonia. It's like middle class for people who kind of make it out the hood or whatever. So in Lithonia, it's basically the hood in middle class. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like all I had to do was really go outside and play basketball, and I was outside with everybody. So I felt like I was a little, I don't know, just embarrassed and just being ignorant at that young age, not really knowing the advantage I had over everybody. I just kind of wanted to follow the crowd and just be a part of everything that I had no business being a part of. But it took me a few tries and just a few bumps on the head for me to really wake up. Because I'm one of them people, like, I got a tight favor with God. Like, I can't do anything. He's like, I can't even take a piece of bubble gum. Something gonna happen to me. But it's like I really had to embrace that leadership that God gave me at an early age. Because even when I was going out trying to do the things I had no business doing, like, I would kind of get roasted by my friends, like on some like what you doing out here? Like, what? Like, you ain't got no business being out here type thing. But at the same time, like, that was kind of, I didn't realize that was kind of their way of telling me who I was on some, like, that I didn't have to do that. I could just really just walk in my purpose and be who God called me to be. And I thank God for all those lessons I learned, because I feel like that really invited me to the relationship side of him. Because I feel like all my life I was just going through the motions, like just kind of going to church and just kind of doing what my folks told me to do without really knowing the real meaning. But I felt like just me going through life thinking I can do everything without him really let me know how much I needed him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you had a specific situation that I think you would call it almost like your 180. I think there was like a weed deal that went wrong, and you and your friend, you and your friends were shot at, and all. It's part of my job, man. I got. Hey man, it's on your label's website, dude. It's right out there.
Oh man, I gotta call somebody up there. But that was definitely the big turnaround moment of my life. When I actually got shot at, and I'll never forget it. It was so obvious that God spared my life, and that it was obvious that if I kept going, it was gonna lead nothing but death or prison. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm one of those people, like, you just got to tell me one time, and that's over. Like, I don't gotta learn more than that. You feel what I'm saying? So, and it was also kind of funny just being in that situation. It's like everybody needs Jesus. You feel what I'm saying? It's like you never know how many people around you need Jesus until it's one of those situations. Because, everybody in the car, the hardest person in the car, Jesus. Like, everybody saying the name Jesus is crazy how you know how to call his name when you really need him. But when it's, when it's uncool, you want to be cool. But I really, and that day really taught me a lot, man. It really taught me the real meaning of being unashamed of the gospel, and really just living for him for real, and really not putting a filter on it, and really letting everybody know what I'm doing. Because that was another thing too. I used to be one of those people saying, like, don't call me a Christian rapper, just call me a rapper that's Christian type thing. But I had to grow out of that too. And I even embraced the saying gospel rap is back. Not saying it went anywhere, but just strictly saying it's back into me. You feel what I'm saying? It's like that's the way I came up. That's the background I came up in. And especially during the pandemic, guys just came to me. It was like I gave you all this sauce, I gave you all the swag. All I gotta do is just use it for me and give it to me. You feel what I'm saying? And I'll give you whatever your heart desires and stuff like that. Like, all I gotta do is just give everything to me. Because, often through life, like, we think we got so much control, but really we be forgetting that God controls everything. Like, God is the one on the other end of the game controller. Like, he's literally controlling every move we make.
That's awesome, man. Hey, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Phew. I was about to say, let me ask you this, 1K, but let me ask you this, Phew. Let me ask both of y'all a question real quick. So, and Lynn, we may have talked about this before on the podcast. Like, I'm getting so old, and I do like 3 different podcasts, so I forget what I've talked about. But my wife, if we're at a restaurant, and you're a little bit older than the crowd of people that I would say this to, but if a server comes up to me and let's say they look to be like 22 years old, is it okay for me to address them as young man? Like, is that demeaning? Like, if you came on here and you're looking at me and I'm in my late 40s and I say, hey, young man, do you take that as oh man, that's cool, that's sweet, or is that demeaning? What do y'all think, young man?
I think it depends on who it is, because in my family, it doesn't matter how old I am. Somebody's going to say young lady or young man, So like, you're going to hear that from uncles and aunts. I'm 40, they'll say young lady. So I think it depends on who it's coming from.
Gotcha. What about you?
Exactly.
If you came on here and I was like, hey, I'm Joey, what's going on, young man? How would you feel about that?
I'd be like, hey, how you doing, old man?
and I would receive that. Hey, I have paid my dues, man. I should be able to call people young man, young woman. So anyway, it's an ongoing argument between Priscilla and I, because she thinks it sounds demeaning.
I definitely agree with her for sure. It depends on who's it's coming from and the tone it's coming as. You know what I'm saying? Because it's different between saying hey, young man, let me talk to you, and saying, young man, like, because I ain't gonna lie, when I hear a firm young man, that take me back to middle school, high school days, and I know what that young man mean. You feel what I'm saying? So it just depends.
Well, I just want to put this out here. It's just, to me, it's just a beautiful thing for people who have a common hope in Jesus, just to kind of get together, meeting you for the first time. Here I am, 16 years old, 16 more years than you as far as life experience. And I feel like I've already learned and received from you. So I just love these sorts of things. And that's one of my favorite reasons for podcasting is this right here, hearing your story, learning from you. I did want to ask you when you had that situation that turned you around with that dangerous being shot at, weed deal and all of that, where were you and God at that time? Like, was God someone that you had received but you were resisting, or was God totally out of the picture, or where were you at in your faith then?
Yeah, I was my mother, she had a drug addiction. Every Sunday morning, she woke up and drug us to church. So that church is
You got me. You got me. My heart was going out to you, man.
I knew church was all we knew growing up. So we knew right from wrong, but that didn't necessarily mean we did, right from wrong. And I loved the Lord. I knew God. I knew who God was. I knew the Bible stories. Like, I went to vacation Bible school, everything. But at the same time, the church I grew up in was kind of like in the hood area. So I was exposed to a lot of things and saw a lot of things at a young age that I didn't understand. Stuff that was culturally, I guess, cool, but didn't really, I was super young. You feel what I'm saying? So just with that being said, I tried to chase a life that I didn't have to chase. And I'm glad for that, because it allowed me to see that, I really can't live it. You feel what I'm saying? Because I feel like every single person has a purpose. And if you go away from your purpose, your life is kind of going to go left, because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. It's like every single person on this earth has a purpose to be here. You feel what I'm saying? It's just, we gotta run in it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, and that's what I would say. Like, just doing around that time, I definitely, was in church. You feel what I'm saying? But I guess church wasn't in me. You feel what I'm saying? So I feel like that situation really woke me up, and and from that day I put the relationship over the religion. You feel what I'm saying?
What was it like after that with your friends? Were you still running with the same people, or what did those relationships look like after you realized that you couldn't do that anymore?
Man, the crazy thing is, so I definitely cut off different relationships for sure. Some people was genuine family, but the others was just a poison to my life. You feel what I'm saying? So I definitely got rid of the ones who I couldn't, I know I couldn't lead, but I also had hope and had faith to change some's lives. You feel what I'm saying? And even on this journey, with me embracing what I did, because that's another thing. When I wasn't putting a title on my music, people didn't even know what I was doing. It was like, yes, I mean, it was like, yeah, it's what's up, but we don't even know who you are. You feel what I'm saying? And I feel like once I start saying gospel rap is back in Atlanta, gospel rapper and all that, that's when people was like, oh, okay. Like, even the people in the street, people I went to school with, like, they was like, oh, yeah, I respect that. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's another thing I noticed is, like, once you stand on your purpose and do what you're supposed to be doing, people gonna respect it. It's like people can sense if you're being fake and if you're not being authentic. You feel what I'm saying? So I thank God for really waking me up for that aspect too, because I'm really learning how to be authentic and to be comfortable in my own skin. You feel what I'm saying? So I feel like for all my friends that I was with, they're seeing my growth and it's taking a toll on their life. You feel what I'm saying? I'm literally seeing that. I'm literally seeing people question their life, like, dang, like, and maybe it's not them, coming to God all the way, just, off the muscle, but it is an immediate change on a question on their life. It's giving them a conviction on their life. You feel what I'm saying? And even when I'm like around certain family members, it's like they know. And I never say anything, but they just know not to do certain stuff around me. You feel what I'm saying? They know not to talk about certain stuff around me and move a certain way around me just because of how I'm standing and how I am. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what I say.
Yeah. Tell me if I'm on the right track here. It seems as if a lot of your peers, and I use that very loosely, I'm just talking about people that share our same faith and are in the hip hop world. It seems like a lot of them would say, hey, I'm not a gospel artist. I'm a Christian that happens to make art, and God comes out in my artistry. Why do you want to flip that on its head and say, nah, I'm a gospel rapper. This is gospel rap. Like what kind of sparked that in you? Because that is a very prevailing thing online. You know, reading about you, it's like, okay, this guy he's saying he's gospel rap. All right. I feel that. Like,
Yeah.
Why is that? Why'd you do that?
Man, just to relate, man. Because I remember growing up in church, they used to have Christian rappers and gospel rappers come minister to us, speak into our lives and pour into us. And they were always lame. Like, they were always so lame. Like, and we, and we couldn't really relate. And I used to always sit with my friends and be like, man, I know, man, if I got up there and like, I can really relate to us. I can really, I know what we want to see. I know what we want to hear. And that's the reason for, the shades and the chains and all the swag, because I want people to see, like, nah, you can have swag and still be a believer and still be radical for Christ. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's what I want to represent, man. I want to represent the radical people who are not really ashamed of their purpose. And and that's really and that's really what starts with me embracing who I am. You feel what I'm saying? With the gospel rap. And I feel like we even started that trend. Like, I feel like ever since we've been saying, like, gospel rap is back, you've been seeing like the different memes of Christian rap is cool or Christian rap evolved and just different things like that. Because I feel like people are starting to wake up and realize, like, we can really embrace who we are. You feel what I'm saying? Only if you do it for the right purpose too, because I know it's a lot of people doing it just for the trend as well. But like I say, God gonna know your heart, and what's gonna be for you is gonna be for you. You feel what I'm saying? So.
Well, Lynn knows this. You don't, but I am a hip hop junkie. Like, it's. I've actually turned somewhat of a corner. I would say that nowadays I'm listening maybe to a little more indie rock, but for a good decade of my life, I was listening to probably 60, 75% hip hop. And I feel you as far as the lame Christian hip hop out there back in the early days, because my parents wouldn't let me listen to secular music. So, my brother and I, we were wanting to rock to Run DMC and Beastie Boys, but I think I was in the third grade. My parents were like, no more. And so I don't know if you've heard of this old school name, but have you heard of Stephen Wiley? Old school Christian rapper.
I heard Stephen Wiley.
Yeah, he may have been the first. I can rap his songs right now to this day, and it's very cheesy. But back in the day, that's all I had. That's all I had.
Have you heard of KJ52?
Yes, yeah, I have. I've talked to him before.
Yeah, that's another one. Oh yeah, that's another one. He another OG.
Yep. So what do you think about a lot of I think the pushback is less and less these days, but what do you think about the pushback that a lot of Christians would have on guys like you collaborating in songs with other hip hop artists whose other albums wouldn't be something that you'd want your kids listening to because of the language and the, just different perverted lyrics, as far as womenizing and that sort of thing. Like, how would you respond to someone saying, hey, you guys, you, Lecrae and all your friends, y'all don't have any business rapping with guys like that?
Yeah. Man, I feel like that's true ministry, man. I feel like a lot of people are, they're kind of scared to get uncomfortable, and they're too comfortable in their setting and their surroundings of where they are. And, sometimes you just got to meet people where they are. You feel what I'm saying? And, of course, it has to make sense. You can't just be on the booty shaking song trying to minister, but it got to make sense to the message of what y'all talking about. You feel what I'm saying? I mean, you can't get on any and every song and with any and every artist. You feel what I'm saying? Sometimes you just got to pray for people from a distance. You feel what I'm saying? And love people from a distance. Cause, it could be a lot of dark vibes, especially in the music industry, but it just got to make sense, and your spirit can tell you. But just an example of that's something that makes sense. I recently did a song called Favorite Trapper with the artist named Young Dro. And y'all remember when I was telling y'all about just me following the crowd and just trying to fit in and stuff like that. So it was a story. I was picking up my cousin from a spot. It was like a trap house. So I was picking him up, And as he was walking out the house, he kind of was telling me to come in on some like, can you come in right quick? Come in like on some like trying to rush. So I was like, no, I don't really know if I want to go inside. You feel what I'm saying? So he just kept saying, bro, just come in right quick, come in. So I come in, I'm thinking he owed the guy some money or something. I don't know. So when we went in, it was a girl that was pregnant, and she was just crying like super heavy, like crying super hard. And I think her boyfriend at the time, or whoever it was, he came up to me. He was like, bro, like, can you pray for her? Like, bro, she need prayer, bro. She need prayer. And at that moment, I realized, like, I'm the closest thing to Jesus that they know.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So immediately, like, just everybody, it was probably about 7 people in there. Everybody, we just held hands, made a circle. We touched and agreed with the girl. I prayed for her. I was super nervous, because this is the first time this ever happened to me. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm praying. But I ain't gonna lie. Like when I started praying, like God just took all the anxiety away. You feel what I'm saying? It was just me and him. You feel what I'm saying? So I really used that situation and kind of, made a whole record about it, made a song about it. And it just organically happened to where, shout out to my big brother Zaytoven. I'm saying we did the record together, but it just so happened he was playing the record one day at his house, and Young Dro was there, and he heard the record, and he was like, man, like that's powerful. Like I rock with that. Like I rock with that heavy. So from that day on, he said he wanted to get on the record, so we made it happen, and that was just a blessing in itself on how that happened. Type thing. So I mean, I don't know. It just all depends, because a lot of people can force things that are not really meant for them. You feel what I'm saying? And it just gotta be organic, and it gotta be intentional. You feel what I'm saying?
Let me ask you this. I heard someone say recently that mainstream hip hop, they're looking for a certain sound, obviously, but they're also looking for specific lyrical content. This person was kind of supposing that Christian lyrics are not where it's at with mainstream. Lecrae has pushed that envelope big time. Guys like you as well, as far as the crossover of gospel and if we want to use the word mainstream Christian, secular, whatever. But if a guy like, I'll just pick on 3 of the bigger names out there. Let's say Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole. If one of them were to have, and I don't know their hearts, they could be Christians for all I know. But if one of them had like a huge change of heart and they said, lyrically, I'm going to clean it all up. I want my songs to be something that anybody can listen to. I want to talk more about my Savior and basically just do a 180 on the sorts of things that they rap about. Do you think that they would take a big hit in listenership and lose opportunities because of that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. And that's kind of tricky too. And I say that because the whole Kanye West situation, where he kind of,
that's true. That's an example.
Where he switched. Yeah, where he kind of switched it up, and the one thing I found a little iffy about that is just how he kind of went on the like a church tour, like a church world tour, like all the churches, like he was just doing pop-ups and just getting people pulpit, and you know what I'm saying? I feel like that kind of not only exposed him, but a lot of other churches too. You feel what I'm saying? Because I feel like that was like a huge clout move a lot of people was doing, like just allow him in the pulpit. And I mean, I'm not saying like he can't come to the church and in the building, but just allowing that big of a responsibility. You feel what I'm saying? Like, because the pulpit is sacred. You feel what I'm saying? And and I don't know, that kind of really, that ain't really sit right with me. But I don't know, and that just goes back to your heart too, man. Like I can't really, just like you were saying, I can't really speak for their heart. Like they might already be Christian, I don't know. But if it's true to them, if it's authentically what God is doing, you feel what I'm saying, and if it's not no clout move or money move, I feel like it'll work. I feel like it won't hurt their listening, their fans or their numbers. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like it won't. especially if you're really going all in with it and doing it in a dope way and not trying to sell out and trying to just do it for clout. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like it won't hurt them. You feel what I'm saying?
Would you feel confined in a negative way if all of your listeners were only Christians? Would you feel like, man, I feel limited. I don't want it to be that way.
Yeah, I don't feel like that only because I feel like the message really wouldn't be getting anywhere. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like the reason for me doing it is to convert souls, is to lead people to Christ. You feel what I'm saying? And that's another thing I tell people all the time. It's not my job to be Christ. It's my job to point people to Him. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. So a few more questions. We definitely appreciate your time. How do you protect yourself from the 1K Phew hype? I mean, you get up on the stage and people are like, man, I've been waiting for this. There he is. And people are going crazy and you're slaying the mic. I sound really old. 47. You're slaying the mic. You're slaying the mic, young man.
You're slaying it. You're slaying it.
But everybody's going crazy, man. How do you protect your heart?
Just go home and listen to my wife tell me to take out the trash.
I like it. I like it.
You know, but my family, just my whole family, man. My wife, my kids, we have 3 kids together. It's just I do it all for them. Definitely God first for sure, but I do it all for them, man. And just coming back home and seeing their face and just reminding me, you know, what I have and remind me, you know, what you got to lose too. You feel what I'm saying? So I really allow that to keep me motivated.
Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Lynn, what are your favorite hip hop artists?
I don't really.
Were you ever into hip hop?
I didn't really grow up listening to a lot of music at all. And I grew up in a very strict household. So, my story is a little bit different in the sense of there's a lot of things we did not get to do. Yeah. So. Yeah.
All right. So let's wrap up with some fun. I'm also going to let you answer a question about what you think the biggest challenge for the church is these days. But before we do that, who do you think? So I asked. I tell you what, we're gonna compare yours because you don't know his answer, and I remember his answers. I asked Lecrae who belongs on the Mount Rushmore of hip hop, and I will actually tell you after you give me your 4. I will tell you what his 4 were. So when it comes to the most influential and most important hip hop artists through all history, who would be your top 4?
Oh man. 4 is crazy. Uh-huh. 4 is crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Will Smith is going up there for me.
Nice.
Will Smith is going up there. You know, we gotta give it to Jay-Z. Whoop-de-doo. And I'll put Lil Wayne up there too.
Dang, all right.
Lil Wayne is definitely I definitely rock with Lil Wayne. And you said 4, I don't know, man. I don't know.
He's stumped, folks. He is stumped.
Cause it's just so many for that number 4 spot. I don't know. I feel like I'm definitely gonna leave somebody out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I might go Outkast, man. I don't know.
Yeah, Atlanta boy, you better. You better. Hey, so Lecrae said Tupac, Jay-Z, Kendrick, and his 4th was Lauryn Hill, which I thought was pretty cool.
Wow, yes, Lauryn Hill, bro. Yes. Lauryn Hill. I love Lauryn Hill. I feel like it's a little too early for Kendrick.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little too early, but nah, Lauryn Hill for sure.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, hey, what would you if I said, hey man, you have 1 minute to exhort the church, admonish the church lovingly, instruct the church, what would you say to the church right now?
Man, I would say everybody put relationship over religion, man, and have tunnel vision on your purpose. You feel what I'm saying? You're going to have a lot of distractions. You're going to have a lot of people speaking against, your calling, but that's normal. You feel what I'm saying? That ain't nothing but a test. In James it says when trials come your way, consider it joy. You feel what I'm saying? So anything coming your way, you got to consider it a test and you got to go through it to get to it. You feel what I'm saying? And always lead with love and just point everybody back to Jesus.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to read what is on the Reach Records, which is your label, the website, because I think now having talked to you, this nails it. It says 1K Phew embodies authenticity. His life and his music are a showcase for the culture that forged him wherever he goes. Listen once, and you can't help but hear the shine. I love that, man. And we certainly appreciate you being on here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate y'all having me, man. The Seacoast Podcast. I know what's going on with us. 1K
There you
Phew.
go.
Let's get it.
Let's get it.
You've been listening to the Things You Won't Hear on Sunday Seacoast podcast. In the show notes, you'll see a link to our Facebook group page. Also, we'd love for you to consider subscribing so you get these episodes downloaded right when they come out. If you enjoy the podcast, we'd love for you to give us some love by rating us on iTunes or Spotify. We now have video versions of these episodes on our Seacoast YouTube channel for those who enjoy listening and watching. Thanks so much for listening.
And he said